This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For June 13, 2025, it's the best-sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, episode number 115. And we are still at InfoComm. It's our final morning. Time for our last badge scans, the closing chapter in the book of InfoComm this year. We've all walked, about 12 or 15 miles. We've eaten nothing but crappy protein bars and
meat.
8 miles a day.
Meat.
It's been 8 miles a day.
Well, and yes, the meat spreads at the Brazilian steak places.
There are a lot of those here.
Let's see. Our voices are shot.
I'm losing my
We've
voice.
got bags full of brochures we're never going to read.
I don't have any brochures.
Oh, well, I didn't read them anyway.
I got brochures, but like
brochures on what? Why would you pick up a brochure?
Because they hand them to me while we're talking. So they distract you with the talking, and
don't
then they
do that.
shove things in your hand.
They look at me and they're like, yeah, you don't read, so I'm not giving you this. They can tell.
Yeah.
So this is going to be our final day morning show. We're doing one more show later today, but today's the morning show. We're going to talk about what we've seen, trends, that sort of fun stuff, get this turned around and out. There is still time, if you're listening to this, to sign up for our tour later this morning and our live show at 1 o'clock if you're around. So please hit us up on the socials to find those links. And we'll get on with that. Let me roll my intro here. So as always, I'm Chris Decter, and I am crushing my food poisoning recovery here.
Oh, yeah.
So, but all that to be said, let's say hello to our panel of AV SuperFriends today. I'm joined by the acting manager of strategic swag abandonment from Kansas City, Mr. Jamie Reinhardt.
Dumpster diver extraordinaire.
No, you're putting it in, not taking it out.
Just an abandoned swag.
Okay.
Well, I think abandoning the swag.
Make like a ball pit of all that swag. Just jump in it.
Also joined by the director of Can We Scan Your Badge recovery operations from Greensboro, North Carolina, Mr. Larry Darling.
No, you cannot. I do not want to be on a mailing list.
You're already on the mailing list, and Avixa just gives them that. So
True. Crap.
it's more of like, are you interested in their products directly? And finally joined by our vice president for End of Show Optimism from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Mr. Justin Rexing.
You know, it was a pretty good show. I'm pretty optimistic that the end of this is going to be banger.
And next year will be even better.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Wait, we're doing this again? I thought this was it.
No, we're not doing this here. We're doing this maybe in Vegas.
Maybe?
Maybe.
Well, we know it's in Vegas next year. So.
Well, I mean,
Cliffhanger.
maybe. Like, you never know who's going to show up and what plane's going to crash
Hey, don't talk about that.
or emergency landing.
I
not
can't
crash.
drive to Vegas. I can drive here.
Sure you can. You just aim your car west and keep going.
It's going to be okay, Larry.
That's
There's
how the
one
stand
highway that
happens.
goes from you to there. You're good.
Larry's going to have to go to his psychiatric place to get some
had-
PTSD help. And
I'm going to put a self-help tape on all the way home.
So for everybody listening, Larry was on that doomed airplane.
he was
that
on
we all
CNN
heard
and
about.
Fox News and
Yeah.
everywhere.
I know. I made the
You made the national
Today
news?
Show.
I like how
thought
you
that
keep
was
bringing
pretty
that up
Today
as
Show?
if that's important.
What, the Today Show?
Yeah.
That, like, when I was growing up,
Was that between?
You always wanted
my
to be on.
grandmother watched the Today Show.
But were you on the segment
She's so
between
proud of you
like
today.
how to make a summer pie and how to pack better for vacations?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah, actually.
When they had the shot of the airplane and all the people coming down the little stair steps, Larry was the only one that came out fist pumping, WWE style.
Now,
He was the first one off the plane, shoving people out of the way.
Actually, because
Hey, Grandma.
I didn't pay for a good seat in a good zone, I was the very last seat next to the bathroom at the very back of the plane. I was the last one off the plane.
Except for the dude in the bathroom.
That was terrible.
You should have deflated or inflated the slides. You'd have been the
I
first
wanted
one
to.
on.
I'm like, if I'm waiting this long, I want to slide down.
Yeah. Where's my slides? What the hell?
Well, we're glad you didn't burn.
Me too.
Apparently there wasn't a fire. It was more of something. in the
Although
cockpit.
exploding into smithereens would have been kind of a fun story.
Was it like a fog machine?
I don't know. I mean, we'll read about that one eventually. But
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about the show.
yeah.
for those of you listening,
Instead
that was
of
Larry's
planes.
adventure.
We're getting off subject here.
So yeah, what are we seeing for trends? Justin and I were talking about one yesterday. We saw that there's a lot of a lot of companies are now identifying where their stuff is manufactured.
Oh, yes, we
I've
did
heard
talk about
that.
that. Well, just like right here. So there's been companies that their company name is below where they're from, especially from like Taiwan and Japan. And when you talk with them, like, we're from Japan, it's not the other one kind of thing. It's like, okay, cool. I don't really care. Your stuff's cool. I just wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
But they're making a big deal about it.
They are making a big deal.
I think subconsciously I've recognized that I see a lot more countries here, but I didn't put it together. I honestly didn't.
Look
So
right
you
there.
guys just said
Look
it.
right there. iBase-USA, Taiwan. Boom.
Even though it says iBase-USA.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that makes sense.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of that. I've seen some Thailand. I've seen some one said Vietnam. So they're showing their manufacturing facilities. They're coming out of Asia because that's where the manufacturing is. But
Rethinking marketing.
they're being very clear as to where that is, and I think that's an intentional play. So whether that plays into our decisions as to what stuff we're specifying and buying, probably not.
It
but
kind of does a little bit. I mean,
I think it puts some understanding around it. Like, okay, I'm going to get this thing, but
like, we know that everything's going to come from overseas mostly, and there's probably going to be some Chinese stuff, but to have that U.S. backing of some kind of local headquarters is going to be helpful for support,
LG is leaning really hard into that this year, that all their stuff is, not all, but the vast majority of their stuff is manufactured in Korea.
Well, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I was talking with someone before the show about some Planar stuff, and they said that Planar is right now actively moving into a new production warehouse in Taiwan. It's like somewhere else besides China.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of like a lot of people doing a lot of stuff with Planar right now. So,
But
I mean,
Planar
people are
sales
moving
people
around.
keep telling me they make everything in the U.S., which I know is a bald-faced lie. So.
Well, they probably
they
assemble
put it in
all.
the crate when
Yeah.
it gets here.
Final
That's
assembly, maybe. But
final.
Yeah, so.
Kind of like cars. I mean, parts come from wherever, and they put it together here. And Planar probably has the most manufactured. I don't know how to say this. Most manufactured product that's not manufactured in the USA, but does come from the USA. I know that's confusing as hell, but
it is.
From all direct view LED walls, I think that Planar has the most presence in the USA. There we go. I got it.
Yeah.
My brain's
Well, all
now
their LED
working.
is Lear. That's all Chinese. So yeah.
Well, it's all coming from there, but
Then it gets
like
here and is repackaged.
most
They put a
of-
Planar sticker on it.
Yeah.
but it's different than like other Chinese companies where, like, I've called the company here in Wisconsin. I'm not going to name the name, and they won't return your call. It's like one person working there, and you have to call the rep that reps the manufacturer because it's full on Chinese, and they just have like this ghost presence in Wisconsin to make you think that
Oh, interesting.
there's an American presence here, and it's not. Like Planar and Absent are probably two of the ones that I know that have a big presence here.
Absent's pushing really big as having a huge U.S. presence. It's their sales and support teams. I get that.
That's helpful
yeah, but
instead
it is
of like
helpful.
another Chinese company you can't even talk to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. But
Well, that's a different market. We're looking at buying like the all-in-one LEDs. So we want, if I have questions, I can talk to a U.S.-based engineer, and they know the product
Yes.
and that sort of thing.
Well, and
Support.
one of the things that I need to go back over there, but like Daktronics, because they're South Dakota,
South
right?
Dakota, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're South Dakota, but they're starting to get into that kind of size frame that we're looking at too.
Yeah, they've lived like exclusively in like stadium, sports
Stadiums
boards,
and,
scoreboards, things. But
They're doing
road
indoor
signs,
stuff now.
But now they're starting to. When I walked by, I saw that they have the Daktronics and stuff.
well, Larry, when we were at Extron, their big board in their or their big display
So
in their showroom.
They've been pushing that
Our
for
scoreboards
three
are
or
now
4 years now. Yeah.
It's-
Well, I'm saying,
Daktronic.
but they're getting out of the scoreboard.
Yeah, they're
so.
moving on past there, but yeah, they finally have
I
a
think-
presence on our campus.
And it's for those who are geolocation sensitive. Daktronics is mostly local.
Yeah,
United
that's
States,
another
so,
one too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
but they're, it's just not somebody that always pops up for indoor smaller displays.
No,
like-
because their market has been big outdoor displays for years.
But they had
so.
some things, so I thought that was cool. But no, that was a good observation because I've seen the more of the country of origin tags, but I didn't put it together until you said
Yeah.
it just today.
I saw it a lot with the audio processing people. Like several of them, when we were talking to them, they brought up the fact that they were USA based,
Except for Zilliqa,
except for Zilliqa. Yeah,
which
they
they're
had-
proud of Canada, which
Yeah.
is fine.
Canada.
Well,
big
yeah,
deal.
AVFI is all Canadian. Evertz is all made
Yeah.
in Canada.
It's fine.
So I mean, there's options out there if you're looking for other things. So, and I think we'll start to see some companies if it's not a massive like logistical lift, and if it's not going to dramatically increase their bottom line, I think we'll start to see some, even if it's small, like maybe they do 90% of their manufacturing overseas and they do 10% in the U.S. or whatever, because that also gets them into TAA and more places that have to buy American and stuff for government contracts. So that opens that up, that they do some amount of manufacturing within the U.S. So I think we'll see that.
What other trends have we seen?
I've seen some weird displays out there.
Really, some displays.
E-ink.
You were mentioning that large
was that?
e-ink screen.
So-
I was searching last night, could not find it.
Yes, that is a concept in production right now. Dynacord, is that right? Dyna something?
that makes sense.
Dynacore, yeah.
They are making e-ink displays that are perfect for door signs where you don't need video. They have Bluetooth and USB connections. They run on wireless power, not joking.
Yeah.
Some kind of IR
I've
transmission.
seen the wireless
I think
power.
it's Dynascan.
Dynascan, thank you. Dynacord is like acoustical crap, I think.
Yes, that's what they call it.
Dynascan.
It's on their business card. It says
Acou-
acoustical
hey,
crap,
we
I
sell
think.
acoustical crap. Dynascan. Yes, sorry, Dynascan. But they have some really cool displays that are super light. They're making a 75-inch e-ink display
Really?
That's
that runs
interesting.
on wireless power. That's the
I'm
concept.
going to use that
they're-
just for a scheduling panel.
And they make the one that I
It is
saw
the
that's
door.
here. It's probably like a 43-inch. It was turned portrait. It was hard for me to exactly
But
tell.
they're looking at like low power, low bandwidth signage stuff.
Yeah, it's like perfect for
like
all
that
this.
that sign there, which has never changed. So we're looking across the way. There says no smoking, no vaping in the loading dock. But like that sign,
But maybe they
Or-
want to change it to like
Or-
no smoking, no vaping, no diving.
A
and then
menu board or
No
hour
shoot, no service,
sign. Like,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
can see uses.
no running, no diving.
No.
ooh,
Never.
you could tie into a sensor as somebody cruises by and say, "Hey, you, no running."
Slow down. Like
Geofencing.
55 mile an hour. Speed limit sign.
That's cool. I'll have to swing by and take a look at that one.
But they do have some really neat applications that are very specific, like banks, restaurants for menus that don't change that often, or like if they want to change from lunch to dinner, that's a perfect thing. I mean, there's going to be some EDU applications, of course, too.
Yeah. I came here looking for USB-C fully integration
well, you found
stuff.
some.
I found some, but what I found I can't use, and so it's good and bad.
Why not?
Well, they're not in America yet. Like the one company we found, Rethink,
Oh, yeah.
their
They're a British
product
company.
is really interesting, but they don't have U.S. distribution.
Not yet until I call them.
Well, yeah. Well, you need to call them
The
soon. so-
exclusive distributor, Rexcon.
That's right.
yeah.
I'm going to work on it.
That one was interesting. There's a couple others out there that were interesting, but some of them kind of required you to be in their ecosystem, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to join an ecosystem just for a part.
Yeah.
The Zilliqa, and I know that they had this product out probably for a while, but I didn't realize that little doohickey was a full-on DSP.
The
that
tiny
you just put
DSP.
little bitty cards in. It's all proprietary, but man, that's really slick.
Yeah, they have a, and that's been around for a few years, but yes, they have a what we would consider a more traditional DSP with lots of I/O, but it's a card frame in a
It's
one
almost
RU
like
chassis.
a quarter rack, half
Oh,
rack.
no.
What is it? It's
They
like
have one.
It's like this, dude.
two
It's
times
a
No.
quarter rack. It's nice.
Well, then maybe that is new because the
It's
one
br- is it
the one
new?
I've seen was
Re-
one RU and it
it-
had like 6 or 8 card slots.
So that one's been around a while,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
like so this is not new. Like
PoE. It's a PoE DSP.
It's a year or 2 years old maybe, but I know they've had it for a little while in technology terms. But yeah, that little
Yeah.
baby DSP, it's just Zilliqa's hard to get.
And
But
you can't.
he's working
and
on
I'm
it.
working on that one too. I'm gonna.
You can
call
get them.
Zilliqa.
it's just it's not as
It's a
widely
little bit
distributed.
more difficult
Yes.
to get.
Let me sign up as a dealer, and we'll work that out.
No, but like when we were at Zilliqa yesterday, we kind of went as a group and was talking to them. That little tiny
Where
DSP.
was I?
Well, you were
It
off
was
with your
unintentional. Larry and I were headed back from somewhere, and then we were like, "Hey, this is Zilliqa. Maybe we should say hi to Sean." And then we looked up, and that big dumb oaf Justin was standing there.
Yeah,
with Sean.
I was walking by, and I was like, "Oh shit, there's Zilliqa," because I think
That's what we did.
they forgot their sign on the upper thing.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to find unless you're just like looking for him. And I was like, well, I'm sure Sean's here somewhere. And I was like, oh, there he is. Started talking with him, and then you jokers showed up.
Yeah. So they had some cool stuff, but if that DSP has been around for a while,
Open architecture.
they need to fix the marketing on that, because I would have been using that.
Like he was saying, and we've heard from Sean, and we've heard, like, if you look it up online, I mean, the European market is huge.
Yeah, it is.
It's just not here. And I thought it was because, you know, sometimes those kind of DSPs, even if they say they're open architecture, they're really not.
This one is.
He showed us the.
That was the
I was
first time
playing with
I've
the
seen the
software.
software, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
It is. It's fully open. You could do whatever you want.
it opened my eyes a little bit.
You could even drop a network switch in there and show all the routes for the network.
Yeah, I thought it is now. They're solidly climbing up my list of I'm interested in. Whenever, you know,
So was this I'm looking at their website. Is this the QR one? I'm trying to
I
find
don't
it.
remember the model number. It's a little bitty guy.
little
Yeah,
tiny
it
thing?
fits underneath the
Yeah,
desk.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's got it's like 6, 7, 8 card slots on that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and each card slot only has like a couple of inputs, but it's like
That's exactly what you need.
customizable enough that I feel like it would suit most of our
because there are
rooms.
companies that are still making, and I get it. There are cases for it. They still need a big
Yes.
1 or 2 RU DSP with a lot of I/O.
Absolutely.
But in the cases where if I'm doing that sort of thing, when I cross that threshold, say, okay, I need more I/O on this. That means I'm buying a bigger device, and that means I'm probably only using 60% of that I/O. So I have a lot of GPIO, I have a lot of analog I/O that just sits there never used.
Well, in like one of the things I came here for is I have to put those big DSPs in a lot of spaces just for the processing power for supporting teams. Seems like there's a lot of options for smaller, more compact and cheaper units to do that. So
I just like there's a few DSPs that are that size
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
can do a little bit, but they're not open architecture. Mm-hmm. That's
Well, it is interesting. I was until you mentioned that last part, but I was going to say I have seen a lot more smaller form factor DSPs. I think a
Yeah,
lot of
just-
people are recognizing if we put a network port on there and we get you 4 or 8 channels of Dante. Sorry, that was this thing dinging.
Okay.
oh, that was weird.
I was like, that was.
That was cool. I like that sound.
Mute all this stuff here. I can play it again, but
Yeah, just random.
well, if you want random sounds, I'm just
No, wait.
but I've noticed there's a lot. You know, they're like, hey, here's maybe 2 in, 2 out analog. Here's USB with 4, 8, 10, 16 channels of depending on how you want to route that, and then here's a network port, which gets you both PoE in a lot of cases. But then also here's some Dante on there, and you're like, geez, for a lot of what I do, this covers everything I need,
Yeah.
and even more than I need. But the form factor is much, much smaller. So
Like it.
Yeah.
you want this one?
I know that one.
Yeah. Any other trends we've seen?
Trends.
I mean, there's tons of software here. I've noticed more software.
There's some really cool software for processes and business and back-end stuff. I've talked with a lot of them, and those softwares can be used in EDU.
It is. I'm having.
The buy-in to get that, though, is going to be rough because most people have some kind of software packages that do little bitty things, and then it's broken up to multiple software packages. What we're seeing now is software packages that do everything for your back-end business, from procurement to clicking buttons. Like this one company is, I'll have to figure out what they're, Unified Communications. I don't know if you know them. They're new.
So that's a hell of a name for a generic.
They're the weirdest thing, which is not useful in my head right now, but if you're a big EDU and you're buying a lot of stuff, you can load in all of the items that you always buy and figure out pathways to these vendors to purchase, and then you just basically check out in your cart and then all the crap shows up. So it's an automated way to procure your designs without getting multiple quotes and all this stuff. I don't know exactly how it works on the back end, but they're doing some things and creating relationships on their back end with your involvement. And it's got a project management process and ticketing system, and it's all these things, and they can customize the order based upon what you exactly need. So if you just want the PM side, you just get that, and then don't get the procurement side. It's kind of, it was really hard to understand, like, they were creating Amazon as a front end, for you as the IT administrator buying this stuff, but then somehow on the back end it was just magic.
And again, like a lot of these software companies are putting out cool products like that, but kind of like my network dilemma where I don't control my network architecture, so I have to fit within that.
You don't control procurement.
We have ServiceNow. We have a process to do all of that. Whatever I get has to, if I see value in it, it has to fit within that ecosystem.
And they have open APIs, but that's work too.
Yeah.
And to get adoption on something like that and buy-in to start implementing that is going to be difficult. But it's very, very useful software out there. You got your D-Tools and X10 updates too. I don't know exactly what X10's doing with their AI stuff, but they got.
So I stopped by there yesterday. I use X10 very heavily for. I don't use all of it. I use the portions I use of X10. I use very heavily. I use it kind of like D-Tools, but what they announced earlier this week, and then I went by and got a demo of it, is they do have kind of like a lightweight LLM AI chatbot thing that you can ask it questions, or you can even say we tried some very kind of high level stuff, put together a room design for a classroom that's 40 by 40 that seats 36 students with fixed seat, blah, blah, blah. You give it some really basic things, and it will spit out things. And what it does is the first couple times it just pulls from random things in their library. But and they're honest about it. They say, look, this will take several weeks. But it will look at the things that I use, and it will say, oh, you use these 3 projectors the most. So it will then pick one of those projectors for it. So it will start to learn on some of that, which is kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how well that plays out. They are doing some automated documentation, some scope of work things, whatnot, that you put together from your stuff, and you provide it some information. They've improved their drawing, their room drawing stuff for elevations and plan view and things, which has always been there, but has been very kind of basic.
Yeah.
And they've improved some of that now too. So I'll be curious to see how well that plays out. The nice thing is they're giving you these features basically for free with an existing plan. So if you have that, you get some of those. There's like a higher level version of that stuff that will be coming later this year, and that will affect your licensing when you renew. But in the short term, I'll play with that this summer and see kind of how that plays out, because some of the stuff I saw in there looks like it will be a time saver. I don't know if I'll use all of it, but where we've seen AI be let me rephrase, AI be most efficient is in automating repetitive tasks that we do a lot.
Yep.
And if it can, because after, my workflow is after I take that stuff, I go into this Word document template I have and I type up all this stuff. If I can dump it into there and it automatically pulls from my bill of materials and kind of gives me quick descriptions and stuff like that, then that saves me some time. And that's, and then I get a faster turnaround on project proposals and things. So I'm all for that. And so they're doing interesting things there. So, kudos to those guys for coming up with some more clever solutions to automate some of these processes.
One of the other things I came here looking for was Auracast, like how that's going to change the industry. I have found it interesting that different manufacturers give you a different timeline of when this is going to happen. Like, there's been some
that one yesterday, like today. It does it today,
and
right now. I'm like, okay.
And we have some that have just been honest with us that the consumer devices are not ready yet.
Yep. Right. But if you buy their stuff, it works.
But
but the promise of Auracast is that it will work with the device you already have. Whether it's your
exactly.
hearing aids, whether it's your phone, it will automatically support that because it's an open standard. But what we've seen is the user devices are the laggard at this point.
Yeah. And there's some companies that are refusing to accept that as being the case and are pushing their solution.
And I thought that was an interesting argument from the one. She was like, "Well, we don't care about the consumer device." I'm like, "But
they can't control it. They do care, but that's what she probably meant. Is they can't control what the consumer devices do."
Because I need to know who to never purchase from.
I'm not sure that. She was the one that should have been answering.
That was
questions.
probably a misuse of words.
It was probably a misuse of personnel.
I think that's.
I believe it was hey, Assistant Susie, please come and help us. But yeah, and they were like, well, just use our stuff. And I'm like, well, the beauty of it in our environment is the fact that it can be used with individuals' consumer products, and we don't have to have this inventory of your stuff. And she's like, okay, but you can do it now, today. But okay. We'll have to try it. That's that's where we left it. It was like, we're gonna have to try it.
If we have to use your stuff, then it doesn't solve the self-identification issues.
Yep.
Like, we might as well use IR at that point. Like, there's no benefit.
Yeah. But there was a few out there that kind of had that.
There are some, and it's on everybody's roadmap. So I think
Not everybody's.
Oh, not everybody's. There's also a company that didn't know what it was, and that concerns me greatly.
There was a very, very, very large audio company who had never heard of it.
I want to know what that is.
They do now.
Yeah, they do now. We talked and explained, but it's still kind of. Yeah.
Was it one person from the company, or
Yeah,
like Bob asked
No,
Frank, and
to be fair,
Frank
you're
was
right.
like, I don't know.
They're
and then
very
Frank
large.
was-
It's hard to say. I'm sure it's on a development whiteboard somewhere, but
like the engineers they left back home are probably like, those sons of,
I'm-
I can't believe they said that.
I'm sure. I am absolutely sure it is on the roadmap. Just it wasn't part of what this InfoComm was
Yeah.
going to be focused on.
Interesting.
but they should at least be aware of it, even if it's not there. They should be coming. Because who did we see? Was it Aurora had like a little plug-in transmitter dongle to add that capability to existing stuff, which I thought was pretty slick.
That
So-
may or may not be who we talked to yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking from the standpoint of like that product doesn't have it built in, but they came up with a little dongle you can plug it in.
So
and
they do
add
know
it.
about it.
Well, and they
No, it wasn't Aurora.
even
Who
they
did
even
that?
have it. You know, their little tabletop touch panel mic things. It's planning on being built into those too.
Interesting.
And so, like, they've got some really cool
They're
roadmap
they're
for it.
leaning into it. It was just an interesting conversations. There's again another push towards cloud-based everything.
God.
And I
Yeah.
think that I got a lot of blank stares when I started asking questions about these services. Is the fact that, you know, how are they operating? What are they doing? You know, how is this going to solve my security issues? How do we do this? And they're like, well, just you know, get an internet. I'm like, yeah, well, what if I, you know, and they all lead with the same things. And this is what we've been talking about on our show. And, you know, if Mark was here, the fact that it's more than just red light, green light, and it's more than just can I do something from home.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, I can already do that. I call VPN. And they go, yeah, but cloud. And so it's really interesting. It's not that I want to like completely write off a cloud-based service, but they're just not. They're all the same topics. They're all the same products.
Yep.
And they're not quite hitting it. And then there's a little bit more information. It's a little bit more push to it. It's a little bit more just use cloud to set it up. I'm like, oh, that's a terrible idea.
Well, and the one the one solution to that or workaround for that would be to have some sort of on-prem, you know, collector device. Aggregator, yeah. And some companies are all on board with that, but they're somewhat sketchy and like, oh, it's a Raspberry Pi running every piece of code we stole from, you know, Russia and China.
No.
And there's others that are straight up, you know, we'll use one of our regular processors, but to act as this, but it's not really a model we like because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I think they all need to recognize that, yes, if I was building a enterprise-grade network today, I would provide cloud provisioning for every device on it. But I'm building, or I'm working on an enterprise-grade network that was built or designed, you know, 25 years ago, and it's, you know, moving that direction. But it's going to be a multi-year lift. So as much as a lot of these companies want you to connect to their really cool, you know, management system, whatever, the minute it's like this thing has to have outbound access, it's not happening.
It's the ROI for me. Like, I know the lift it's going to take to get any of these things on the network. And if all it's giving me is the red light, green light, and then I can go fix it, I can
But it
do
can also
that
show
anyway.
you firmware versions, Larry.
Oh, yeah. Great. If it wasn't on the
awesome.
network, I don't really have to worry about the firmware as much.
Yeah, it's a on repeat conversation with folks that it's not that we hate the idea. It's
No, I
you're not-
love the idea.
Yeah, you're
It's
not
just you're not
impl-
making your stuff correctly to do that.
or it's that we want it to all be our stuff. I mean, we'll talk to other things, but that's not the point.
Yeah, and there are a few that do that kind of are trying to go platform agnostic and say, look, we're not going to limit it to just our stuff. We want to talk to everybody. It's not widespread. And it's not primary. I'll be brutally honest. I've had good luck leveraging our networking team's monitoring system they already use on campus via SNMP. I'm surprised. Like I connect to an old Crestron processor, I connect to a QSys processor. The amount of stuff I can get off of that, just through SNMP, showing device connection, showing status, showing things like, hey, I can see that network microphone, but the Dante stream has stopped, and I can pull all that over SNMP, which right now costs me $0. And it uses the same platform that my networking team already uses, so we're baby stepping into that. And it's like, guys, if that gets me 75% of the way of one of these newer platforms, and it's already something I have on campus, hell, if it gets me 50% of the way, because it's like you said, Larry, it's not red light, green light. It's red light, green light, plus some diagnostics, plus some advanced troubleshooting, plus some real-time status information. Hey, why is this person saying they can't see their laptop? You log in and look at it, like, your laptop is not connected to that device. And that's something you could hand off at the help desk level, and they could see that and be like, oh, and then you hear some fumbling around, and oh, now it's working. So, but if I can get 50% of what some of these fancy solutions do for $0, I'm all for it.
And the pricing structure that a lot of these companies have still doesn't work for the higher ed environment.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, we were talking to one yesterday, and it's $40 per device per month. I said, okay.
Per device per month?
Yeah,
per device.
They have definitions of device.
Oh, like
yeah.
so
it could
more
be
like per room sort of thing.
Big device.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they have different definitions.
Oof,
but let's just.
That's rough.
The point being is okay, so if I have this room system device, and it's $40 per month, and go stop with the per month thing because that's a deal breaker. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, no, we charge you annually, but
so
you just sell it. They say it.
They sell it per month,
and it sounds less.
Yeah, and from a higher ed perspective, especially if it's a capital project, that was one-time funds. Mm-hmm. If it's a department, they put together funds to do something, and then they're not going to look at it again for 5 or 6 or 7 years or longer. The general pool, the general inventory, the registrar-controlled rooms. I mean, you might be able to make that argument that you have some recurring funding for that, just out of standard funding, but that's a tougher lift.
Yeah, and it can't be dynamic. Right, it can't be, I took some off this year, or I added 15 next year. I mean, it's got to be a predictable number that we just can't hit. And when you start discussing that with them, they're like, oh, well, I was like, so, I mean, I have 47 of these, just this one style device, not counting all the other ones. And they're like, I mean, you're quickly getting up into the multiple tens, dozens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, what'd you say? $40 a month. Let's just say that's per room. $40 a month. If I have 300 rooms, that's $12,000 a month.
Yeah,
$144,000 a year.
I'm like,
yeah,
I can hire 25 people in Kentucky for that.
Wow. Good Lord.
No, I'm just kidding.
But
you
to your
can
point,
hire two or three people
for $140,000. I could hire a full-time programmer with benefits, with retirement, all that stuff, and have a little left over, and have them write it. So
yeah, it's just an interesting conversation, and we know this has been. It's happening all the time, but there has been a little bit larger push for it this year, and they're still missing the mark, and it's kind of disappointing. But we continue to have the conversations.
And if we don't talk with them, then they won't know what our challenges are.
Yeah. Well, and my concern is we are talking with them, and they're going further in that direction. Like one of the companies I talked to, their whole push to Infocom was their new cloud-based.
Yeah, that was their announcement.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then
like,
they said,
that's great.
we don't really even know how it's going to deploy yet. I'm like, oh my God. It was bad.
So it was so new that they not sure how it's going to work.
Yeah. So the last thing is I think we'll probably have a show later about Widget Fest 2025, because a lot of the widgets we've been asking for over the last few years
are here.
They're here.
I've noticed a lot of middleware stuff. It's not the big thing at either end. It's something in the middle that makes life easier, or it converts something, or it switches something. So
I think sometime in the future we're going to have the Infocom Widget Fest review, because I did find the widgets that we've been me personally has been bitten. There we go. Widget Fest.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's all the ones that I've been personally bitching about for the last 4 or 5 years. They're here today.
Yeah.
Today, and they're kind of working. But I'm really interested in it. So I haven't seen any big disruptive thing, but I've seen all the things that solve a bunch of my problems. So that'll be an interesting show later on. Probably someone or two or later today too.
Yeah, a lot of the AV over IP and USB devices we've kind of wanted are now here. So
you have to show me those because I haven't seen them yet.
Okay.
I've been-
Some of them will probably be on the tour that you're
that you
supposed
can
to
go
lead.
on. You can go on that tour, Justin.
We have a tour?
Yes.
Oh,
in
my God.
like 2 hours.
Let's go. I knew about the tour.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll roll out of here, get this published, and on to more stuff. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.